The box sat on the lawyer's conference table like it didn't belong there. Small, wooden, the kind of thing you'd find at a garage sale for $2. While my sister Raina held up her phone to livestream the moment she received the deed to Mom's house, and my brother-in-law Marcus, my brother-in-law, while he shook hands with the attorney after learning he and Raina would split the investment accounts. I sat in my chair staring at that box and trying very hard not to cry in front of people who would enjoy it. The attorney slid toward me with both hands, like he was being respectful. Like the box deserved respect. "Your mother left specific instructions," he said quietly. "She wanted you to have this." Raina laughed, not under her breath, out loud right there in the conference room with its beige carpet and fake ficus tree. "A box," she said into her phone, turning the camera toward me. She got a box. Her husband put his hand on her arm, not to stop her, just to steady himself because he was laughing too. I didn't say anything. I picked up the box, put it in my lap, and kept my face completely still while the attorney finished reading the rest of the will. The house, their primary residence in Scottsdale, 4 bedrooms, paid off, went to Raina. The brokerage accounts, approximately $350,000 split between 2 funds, went to Raina and her husband jointly. The car, a 2021 Lexus, went to Raina. The jewelry, the furniture, the china set my grandmother had brought from Ohio in 1962, all of it Raina. My mother had 3 children, my older sister Raina, my younger brother Kobe, and me. Kobe got a savings bond worth $800 that had matured in 2019. I got a locked wooden box with no key. The attorney looked at me when he finished. I think he expected me to say something. "Thank you," I said. "Can I go? My name is Sloan. I'm 31 years old. I'm a middle school science teacher in Gilbert, Arizona, which is 20 minutes from Scottsdale if you avoid the 101 during rush hour. I drive a 2017 Honda Civic with 94,000 miles on it, and a crack in the dashboard that showed up last summer and I keep meaning to get fixed. I mention these things not because they matter, but because I want you to understand who I was when I walked out of that attorney's office. A person with a cracked dashboard and a wooden box and absolutely no idea what was inside it. My mother had died 6 weeks earlier. Pancreatic cancer, fast and brutal. From diagnosis to funeral was 11 weeks. I had taken unpaid leave to drive her to treatments, to sit with her during the bad nights, to manage her medications and her insurance claims and her pharmacy pickups. I had done this because she was my mother and because Raina lived 45 minutes away and was very busy. I had not done it expecting anything in return. That's the honest truth, and I want to say it plainly before you assume this is a story about entitlement, because it isn't. I didn't sit with my mother through chemo infusions with one eye on her estate. I did it because she needed someone, and I was there. What I did not expect was to be publicly humiliated at her will reading while my sister livestreamed it. Raina had always been the favorite. I knew it the way you know which way the wind is blowing, not from a single dramatic moment but from 1,000 small ones accumulated over years. The way my mother's voice changed when Raina called versus when I called. The way family stories always centered Raina's achievements, Raina's children, Raina's home, which she described to everyone as her dream house, even though it was her husband's parents who had given them the down payment. I was the steady one, the sensible one, the one who showed up. There's a certain kind of family that treats those qualities as obligations rather than virtues, and mine was that kind of family. My brother Kobe lived in Portland and mostly stayed out of family dynamics by virtue of distance. He'd taken the bond certificate with a shrug and texted me from the parking lot. "Sorry sis, that was messed up." I appreciated that more than I can say. I drove home with the box on my passenger seat. I didn't open it that night. I don't know why exactly. Something about it felt like it needed to wait. I put it on my kitchen table and looked at it while I ate leftover pasta, and then I went to sleep. The video Raina posted got 600 views by the next morning. She had titled it something like "Will Reading Day." Mom always knew how to keep things interesting, and the clip that got shared was the moment I picked up the box. You could see my face in profile. You could see that I was working to keep it neutral. She texted me around 10 that morning. "Hope you're okay." Lol, obviously the box thing was funny, you know how mom was with her little surprises. I didn't respond. I called in a personal day from school. I sat at my kitchen table with the box and a cup of coffee and I looked at it for a long time. It was maybe 8 inches wide, 6 inches deep. Dark walnut, I thought. Small brass hinges tarnished. A keyhole on the front, old-fashioned, the kind shaped like a long oval at the top and a cross at the bottom. I shook it gently, something shifted inside. Not heavy, not metallic, paper maybe, I didn't have the key. I spent about an hour searching my mother's things. I still had 2 boxes of her personal items in my guest room from when I'd packed up her bedroom during the last hospital stay. I went through every drawer liner, every envelope, every old birthday card she'd kept in a shoebox. Nothing. I checked the jewelry box she'd given me years ago, the one with the ballerina that no longer spun. Nothing. I went through her old recipe tin, the one she'd kept in the kitchen where she also stored things that had nothing to do with recipes. Rubber bands, a spare key to the back door, photos, a grocery receipt from 2011 for reasons no one will ever understand, no key. I sat back down at the table and looked at the box again. And then I remembered the book. When I was 9 years old, I went through a phase of being obsessed with a particular series of children's books. Adventure stories, puzzle solving, the kind where the main character always found the hidden clue that everyone else had missed. I read them so many times the spines cracked. One birthday, I think I was turning 10, my mother gave me a hardcover edition of the first book in the series. Inside the front cover she had written, "For my Sloan, who always finds what's hidden. Love, Mom." I had given her that book back when she got sick. Brought it to her house during one of her good weeks and set it on her nightstand. She'd looked at it for a long time without saying anything, and then she'd said, "You remembered." I had packed that book with the rest of her nightstand items. I went to the guest room, opened the box of nightstand items. Found the book near the bottom, wrapped in a dish towel for some reason. I opened the front cover. The inscription was still there, but there was something else now, taped to the inside back cover, something I hadn't noticed when I packed it. A small brass key on a piece of tape, with a strip of paper tucked underneath it that said in my mother's handwriting, "You always find what's hidden, baby. Now find the rest." My hands were shaking when I walked back to the kitchen. The box opened with a clean click. Inside was a manila envelope sealed. On the front, in my mother's handwriting again, "Sloan, for your eyes only, then call the number inside." Inside the envelope was a letter and a business card. I read the letter standing up at my kitchen table. By the end I had to sit down. My mother, it turned out, had been quietly careful for a long time. The house, the accounts, the Lexus, the furniture, all of that was real, and all of it went to Raina, and she had made those choices deliberately. Not because she loved Raina more, she wrote, but because she had known for years that Raina's financial decisions were poor, her husband's income was unstable, and without those assets they would struggle. She wrote this with a clarity that surprised me. She wasn't cruel about it, but she wasn't soft about it either. "Raina needs the floor under her feet," she had written. "You've always known how to build your own." What she hadn't disclosed in the formal will, what didn't appear in any document Raina or her attorney had seen, was a separate trust she had established 8 years ago. She had started it with an inheritance from her own mother, money none of us had known about. She had added to it quietly, over years without telling anyone. She had named it with my childhood nickname, the one no one else remembered. The trust had been managed by a private attorney in Tempe. Its current value as of her last statement was $412,000. I looked at that number for a very long time, then I looked at the business card. It had a name, a phone number, and the address of an office in Tempe. I picked up my phone. The attorney answered on the second ring. Her name was Deb. I'll call her that because she asked me to, and her voice was calm and warm in a way that made me think my mother had chosen her carefully. She said, "I've been expecting your call. Your mother told me you'd find the key," I said. "She hid it in a book." "She told me that too," Deb said. "She said you'd be the only one who'd know which book." We talked for 40 minutes. Deb explained the trust structure, my options, the timeline for distribution. She had known my mother for 8 years. She said my mother had spoken about me often, that she had been specific and deliberate in how she structured things, that she had thought about it for a long time. She said my mother had wanted me to have something that was fully mine, not tangled in family expectations, not diluted by obligation, not subject to anyone else's claim or commentary. "She wanted you to have a choice," Deb said, "not a handout. A real choice." When I hung up the phone, I sat in my kitchen for a while and just breathed. I did not call Raina. I did not post anything. I went back to school the next day and taught my 7th graders about photosynthesis, then I came home and made dinner and went to sleep. I did this for 3 weeks. Raina texted twice, once to ask if I wanted any of Mom's smaller furniture items that she was not really going to use, once to send me a link to a podcast about grief. I thanked her for both. Her husband called once, which surprised me. He said he hoped there were no hard feelings about the will situation, and that he thought my mother had been very generous. I said I thought so too. He seemed unsure what to make of that. I met with Deb in person. I sat across from her in a quiet office with a real ficus, living, not fake, and we talked through my options. She had organized everything clearly, which I appreciated. I had a lot of questions and she answered all of them without making me feel like the questions were naive. I decided not to do anything dramatic with the money. I know that might disappoint you if you were hoping for a big reveal moment, a grand gesture, a scene where I buy something spectacular and make sure Raina sees the receipt. That's not what happened. What I did was quieter than that and honestly more useful. I paid off my car. I put a significant portion into index funds. I set aside enough to cover 2 years of living expenses in a high-yield savings account, which meant that for the first time in my adult life I could have a bad year, a really bad year, without it destroying me. I started researching graduate programs. I also did one other thing. About 2 months after the will reading, Raina called me. Not a text, a call, which was unusual enough that I almost didn't pick up. She was crying. Not dramatically, but genuinely, the kind of crying that's been going on for a while before someone finally makes the phone call. Her husband had been laid off 3 weeks earlier. They had put new floors in the Scottsdale house right after inheriting it, and a new HVAC system, and had taken a vacation to Cabo because Raina had said they deserved to celebrate. The Lexus needed a transmission repair that insurance wasn't covering. She had looked at the brokerage accounts and they were lower than she'd expected because of fees she hadn't understood and some decisions her husband had made that she couldn't fully explain to me. She said, "I don't want to ask you for anything, I just wanted to talk to someone." I listened. I didn't say I told you so because I had never told her so. I'd never said anything at all. I listened for a long time and when she finished I asked her some practical questions. Did she know about the Arizona rental assistance programs? Had she talked to a financial advisor? Did she know that some community colleges had free financial literacy workshops? She said, "You sound like you know about this stuff." I said, "I've been doing some reading." She asked if I was doing okay. I said I was. She said the video, the one she'd posted from the will reading, she'd deleted it. I had noticed that it had disappeared but I hadn't said anything. I still didn't say anything about it now. "I'm sorry," she said, "about that." "Okay," I said. "I want to be clear about something because I've thought about it a lot since then. I don't think my mother's plan was meant as a punishment for Raina. She wasn't setting a trap. She wasn't engineering a situation designed to humiliate my sister after the fact. What she did was look clearly at her children, understand what each of us actually needed, and try to meet those needs in the most useful way she could. She gave Raina stability because Raina needed it. She gave me freedom because she knew that was what I needed. What I didn't expect was how much it would mean to me, not the money, though the money matters and I won't pretend otherwise, but the letter, the fact that my mother had seen me, really seen me over years quietly, the inscription in the book, the key taped behind it, the phrase she'd used in the letter, "You've always known how to build your own." I cried in the parking lot of the temp office after my first meeting with Deb, not sad crying. Just the kind of crying that happens when something you needed for a long time finally arrives. I'm applying to graduate programs this fall. Environmental science. I've wanted to do this for 6 years and kept talking myself out of it because the timing was never right. The timing is right now. I still talk to Raina occasionally. It's not warm exactly, but it's not nothing either. She found a part-time position doing social media consulting for a local business, which I think suits her more than she expected. Her husband is interviewing. Things are hard for them, but they're managing. I don't feel good about that. I also don't feel bad about it. I feel approximately neutral, which, for our relationship, is probably the best I could have hoped for. Kobe came down from Portland in the fall and we went through the last of Mom's things together. He found a photo of the 3 of us from 1998, standing in front of a Christmas tree. Raina is mugging for the camera. Kobe is making a face. I am looking at something off to the side, some distraction nobody else noticed. "Very on brand," Kobe said. I laughed. It was the first time I'd really laughed in a while and it surprised me, the way good things sometimes do, arriving when you're not looking, from directions you didn't expect. My mother knew that about me. She hid the key where she knew I'd find it. In a book about a girl who always found what was hidden, because she had been paying attention my entire life even when it didn't feel that way. I think about that a lot. How much can go unseen between people who love each other, and how sometimes the things that feel like nothing turn out to be everything you needed. The box sits on my bookshelf now. I keep it there because I like looking at it. Not as a reminder of that day in the conference room or Raina's laugh, or the way my face went still while I waited for something to be over. I keep it there because it's beautiful, actually. Dark walnut, small brass hinges, the kind of thing that looks ordinary until you know what was inside it.